Hey everyone, welcome to the Player 4 podcast. Let's all sound off, shall we?
Hey, it's Hayley, aka Hales, on the Rooster Teeth website. What up?
Tristan, a.k.a. Shagrazier.
Alex, aka Chaos Black 21.
Joseph, a.k.a. J. Dunlap, reporting for duty. I said
Front
duty.
and center.
I said duty.
Ha,
Duty.
Alright, enough of that.
So, how is everyone? Are we having a good week?
No.
You're having a week.
I'm having a week. It's a week in the year. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been having a busy week, but come Friday, it'll be nice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm having a very good week. Just really sore. Like, painfully sore. The reason I wasn't here last week is because I had to go to the dentist. And I got a cavity filled.
Oh, sore teeths.
Actually, no. It's not like it used to be. Because as a child, I had cavities filled. And it took, 2 hours. And I remember I got so mad, I spit the water back out at the dentist. And my mom made me go back and apologize. It was kind of sad, but I was like, I had to apologize, but I wasn't really sorry. Because I was like, you drilled in my mouth, so I'm going to spit at you.
So,
But literally, it was 30 minutes. I was in and out. I was like, oh, that's it? Because the reason, I thought I was going to be, numbed up, all day. I was going to be this, that, and the other. No. And he's like, all right, you're done. I'm like, what? He's like, you can get out of my chair. I was like, how? What? And he's like, yeah.
GTFO.
He's heard about your reputation spitting at dentists.
Maybe that's a thing. The dentist when I was little was really cool. His waiting room was awesome. He had a spinning propeller that you could press a button and it would spin. He had this funhouse mirror. He had one of those big hand chairs that kind of creeped me out, but I sat in it. And then he had a stoplight that you could press the different buttons and it would go green, red, blue, green, red, yellow, whatever.
what colors are on a traffic light?
Well, if you put red and
Grello is a color on the
Grello. You're going to be on a stoplight if you don't shut up.
I don't even know what that means, but I think that means we need to go ahead and start our first segment. Okay, Tristan?
And another thing.
Yes, thank you for telling us what our segment is.
Thing.
And a fluffy thing.
And a floppy thing.
Oh, beat you to the punch!
I thought you were just trying to upstage him.
No, I'm just thirsty. I wanted punch.
Oh. You're the only one who said you
so
had
sad.
anything for this segment.
Am I the only one that has anything for this? 'Cause
I have a thing. The podcast was terrible last week because I wasn't there, so you all suck and I hate you.
So this week we've gained 10 awesome points?
Yes.
Well,
I don't know. Last week we had...
Hold on a second. You weren't there on your own volition. We did not keep you from the podcast.
Yeah, well, still. I wasn't there, so that's another thing. I should have been there.
Well, if you had been there, you'd be like...
Basically.
I think that would have been a great podcast.
Anyway, we had Obo Crazy last week, and we had tons of fun. And maybe you'll be here next time we bring her on, because she wants to talk spoilers about things. And once I have a life and I can watch movies, we're going to talk spoilers about stuff. Or I'll just have you guys record something by
Dude,
yourselves.
maybe we should have a new segment that's like, spoilers! We're gonna spoil you rotten.
So we've had 2 Glibshark people on here then.
Yep, we got to work on getting Roadblock on. So if
he's
you were
going to feel
listening-
left out. Both his companions have been on. We left Jonathan out.
Yep. If you're listening to this and Roadblock has not yet been on the podcast, then tweet to road_block and tell him, get on the Player 4 podcast, you noob.
He doesn't like being called a noob, so he'll probably do it if you call him that.
Yeah, he reacts pretty well to that. It's like calling Marty McFly a chicken. Or yellow.
Nobody calls me a chicken.
And he gets upset about that, and then he lays an egg.
On the guy's face?
Yes.
Gross.
And with that, the bit that I have for this segment is we have alluded several times to Fantastic Four flopping utterly.
Fantastic Four.
Because last week we were talking about how the trailer for Fantastic Four basically gave away the entire movie, except for just the final confrontation that's inevitable, right? So I actually did some research.
Uh-oh.
on Fantastic Four,
Fantastic Four.
the movie that tanked, of course. And not only did it only make $26.2 million across just under 4,000 theaters in its opening weekend.
That's bad.
It had a production budget of $120 million.
That's flop. I think is an understatement.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. But I was just looking up I'm trying to piece together this mystery as to why it did so poorly. And so I have two different articles I have on tabs here on my Google Chrome.
Can I guess?
Go ahead.
I think three things. Poor advertisement. The fact that it's like the fourth time we've seen their origin story on the silver screen, so I think everyone's pretty much done with that. And
you can't say that, though. You can't say it like that, because Spider-Man's had like a billion movies, and he's getting another one, which...
But it's always relative to how they treat the reboot, and in this case, they just kind of did not do a good job with it.
Although I actually did want to see it.
It made about half as much money or less than Rise of the Silver Surfer, the movie that sank the previous franchise. That's pretty bad. Anyway, so here's some things that I saw. Here's some things that I saw. First off, the movie Chronicle. Who knows what that is?
I don't know what that is.
It's a movie from 2012 about high school students who gain superpowers after discovering something underground.
Oh, no.
Maybe. That sounds kind of like that plot kind of sounds familiar, but then again, a lot of things have been doing something kind of like that.
IMDb gives it a rating of 7.1 over the course of 189,000 users, so, I mean, that's not
How
bad.
many Rotten Tomatoes did...
No, I'll get there. But the director of Chronicle was Josh Trank, who just so happened to be the director of Fantastic Four because they called him the Wunderkind director. Like he was just some young protege or whatever. They gave him Fantastic Four, but he cost himself a gig doing a Star Wars spinoff because of his extremely bizarre behavior on set. And apparently he's a little bit nuts. And he even acknowledged that there was trouble on set as a result of his actions, but he actually deleted the tweet that acknowledged it after the fact. So then an analyst with exhibitor relations, Jeff Block, said, "This turned into a nightmare for Fox. Everything that could go wrong went wrong, and the whole thing fell apart. This thing was doomed before it even went on screen." And that, Tristan, might actually be one of the reasons why they didn't advertise it, because they knew it was going to be bad.
Then why go through with it?
Isn't it just like that conversation we had back at Tristan's house when we were recording?
It's like the definition of insanity is, first of all, going into something knowing the result's going to be bad, hoping that somehow it's going to come out good. No, or doing the same crap over and over again, expecting a different result. It's like, really?
Yep.
When I think they ended up releasing the movie because after all this crap, they finally got to a point where, well, if we scrap it, we're not getting any money back that we spent. If we at least release it, hopefully we'll get a small chunk. It's probably going to be really small, but at least we get something back.
I mean, I've seen cases where they'll reshoot. If something's turning out just awful, they'll reshoot. But, I mean, if they were already... how do you get to the point where you're done? Because post-production is something like 60% of the process. You know, filming is not even half the...
Oh, yeah, we're at a point where most of the actors are the CG.
Yeah. So,
most of the work is done on the computer.
We're in a day and age where a movie could be scrapped at any moment and not cost nearly as much as it used to redo, to just go back and do it again or fix major flaws. So, I mean, how do you get to the point where you're at post-production and this thing's practically on screen when you say, this was too much trouble, we're not going to advertise it?
Just laziness.
Yeah. So I went to Rotten Tomatoes, and Hayley beat me to the punch on this.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It meant that we were on the same wavelength here. The average audience score was 21%.
Pretty low.
But all critics averaged is 9%.
That's even lower.
And top critics, 5%.
This thing sucked.
Yeah, basically it's stick your head in the sand, you made a really shitty movie.
Yeah. The critics' consensus is...
But hold on, is it as sucky as Trolls 2?
Why make the comparison?
Because Trolls 2 was considered the worst movie of all time based off of Rotten Tomatoes score.
Oh.
Even worse than Marley and Me?
Even worse than Pumpkinhead?
Okay, Marley and Me, no joke. Literally makes me cry every single time.
Is it supposed to?
But
Yeah, is it supposed to?
yeah, it's supposed to make you cry. But the Trolls 2, because it's so bad, there's this cult following of it, like even to this day, where they show it in theaters occasionally. But the best part of Trolls 2 is the fact that there aren't any trolls in Trolls 2.
Did somebody feed
Well,
the trolls?
then the whole movie is a troll.
Yeah, the whole movie's a troll. Good job,
But the
Tristan.
director still goes on thinking that he made an amazing movie. But all the actors and actresses know
So he's
that
M.
it's
Night
complete
Shyamalan.
crap.
Yeah, Shamlan.
No, you mean M. Night
Shyamalan. Shyamalan. I was just going to read the critics' consensus for Fantastic Four, and here's what the critics agree on. Dull and downbeat. Downbeat. This
Not even
fantastic.
upbeat.
Yeah, it's not even. It's the opposite
not
of
even
upbeat.
beat.
There's no beat to it. It's downbeat. It's almost
No one ever
unbeat.
just whelmed.
So it's just all depression.
Apparently, you can be whelmed. Like, there's a quote in 10 Things I Hate About You.
Uh-huh.
The girl goes, so, you can be overwhelmed, and you can be underwhelmed, but can you ever just be whelmed? And the girl goes, I think you can in Europe.
What does that even mean?
Jesus Christ.
Okay.
I hate everyone. I'm yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
it's one of those things. It's an ongoing joke. It will never die. I recently watched Young Justice, and Robin was characterized as constantly asking questions like that. In fact, that is one of the questions he asks, and that's just
Like,
that's
you
part
can
of
be
his character.
apparently you can be whelmed. I don't understand how,
No,
but apparently
you
can
can't.
Be
It was a joke.
no, I looked it
Whelmed
up.
is not a state.
I don't know. Maybe our current state.
Can
Whelmed is not a
you be
state.
whelmed?
Wyoming is.
It's on Google. Okay, Yahoo Answers. Can you ever just be whelmed?
Oh, don't go to Yahoo Answers.
Never go
It's
to
official,
John.
folks. Is Yahoo Answers.
Just IMDb.
Shut up. Brilliant question. This person said, brilliant question. Not really. but
Not
whatever.
really at all.
I never thought about it that way before, but I guess we are constantly whelmed, but at times can be overwhelmed, and that's when stress levels rise. But
There we
when
go.
but being whelmed is pretty much a regular day.
Haley,
That's what
read
I
that
said.
entire thing, but now you're a Valley girl that's like, so, this is so cool.
Brilliant question. I never thought about it that way before. Like, I guess we're constantly whelmed, but at times can be overwhelmed. And that's when stress levels rise, right?
I mean, like, oh my
So
gosh.
So being whelmed is pretty much a regular thing, right? Am I right? Like, totally.
It's like Family Guy. If I had a nickel for every time I heard that. What if you had a nickel for every time?
That would be
We are de-educating our audience right now. They are stupider for listening to us at this point.
Well, with that note, let's continue this critic thing. Dull and downbeat was the beginning of
We're
it.
still on and another thing.
You know what? Don't
haven't
worry
let it
about it.
finish.
We're talking about Fantastic Four. We're taking a dump on a movie full of dump.
that none of us have seen yet. We're just going by the critics.
So by your logic,
sucks,
in order
so
to
you
say a
can't
movie's
now.
bad, I have to sit through it.
I am not
If-
paying for that
If
movie.
you yourself want to say, "Hey, this is a bad movie," I know that you have to sit through it. Basically,
Did
we're
I ever
telling
say
people
that
what
I know
other
it's a bad
opinions.
movie, or did I say I'm reading a critic's consensus on it?
But like I said, we're dumping on a movie that we haven't seen when we
So?
should just be showing people's opinions that have seen the movie that are dumping on it.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Why can't we all just take a huge dump?
But we're putting our opinion.
I
into
did
it.
earlier, actually.
That's disgusting. I
Anyway,
didn't-
dull and downbeat. It continues and says, this Fantastic Four proves a woefully misguided attempt to translate a classic comic series without the humor, joy, or colorful thrills that made it great.
so
Ouch.
pretty much it sucked.
So they said they took a series known for its humor, joy, and colorful thrills and tried to turn it into Batman.
I'm Batman.
I'm Batman.
Batman.
And nobody's Batman but Batman.
I'm Batman.
Hey, Hayley?
Yeah.
Jason Todd. Okay, good. Because last week we brought up... What did we bring up? We brought up Spider-Man. And it was just, you weren't there, and it was sad.
I love
You wrote
Spider-Man.
Jason Todd.
Okay, Alex, since you're so concerned about us leaving And Another Thing, we're officially out of And Another Thing because I want to segue into more Marvel stuff because they just finished principal photography, like last week, of Civil War. I can't wait.
Civil War. Dun dun dun.
Tristan said that really quietly, but I'm going to make it super loud.
Oh, good.
The next Captain
Yeah.
America, yes.
Yay! And Spider-Man will be in it. Spider-Man.
Put him in, please.
Oh, speaking of Spider-Man, that was in our extended best of video, and we surpassed our goal of 40 subscribers, and we reached 41 subscribers.
Hey,
We got 3 in a day after I
We're shooting
put
for
up
the stars here. We
social
didn't just
media
hit
stuff.
40. We hit 40.
We have 41. That's a big deal. That's
Okay, guys, 9 more to 50.
What percentage of 40 is 1?
2.5.
Yes, that's 2.5 more. Imagine if Rooster Teeth gained 2.5% more subscribers. That'd be like a billion. A billion to 11.
But now we want 9 more.
You know what? I wouldn't be opposed to 9 more, but because we reached our goal, then we went ahead and released the extended best of video.
Nobody congratulates me for getting that
Spider-Man.
number so quickly. They're like, he's an engineer. Of course he can get that number so quickly. You know what? It's not easy being an engineer.
you're an
I'm
engineer.
sorry. Next time you
God,
ask
you're
me a
just
music
so
question,
overqualified. Get
then
out
I'll
of here,
get
Tristan.
booty hurt that you didn't thank me the right way.
Tristan's too overqualified for our podcast. He needs to get out.
Tristan, I'm sorry. You are overqualified. I see that you have all these qualifications, but
I'm
I
gonna
just
need
don't
you to
think
leave.
you're right for our company. Does that sound familiar?
It sounds really familiar.
I think you're going to
Aw,
leave us
way to
the
make
moment
him
you get a
feel
better
bad.
job. And you're like, you're dang right I'm going to leave you for a better job, but I need food.
I need food today. I don't have an engineering job today.
So either
I could
hire
have
me
going
or
to-
give me food.
We're going to replace you with Stuart.
Eat your
Probably just
food.
That's probably just.
I will not. Tristan.
Tristan?
Yes.
Tristan?
I will never replace you.
Aww.
Thank you.
Except...
I'd be really worried if you replaced. I would be like, "This is my apartment." You're like, "Nah, I'm replacing you."
Except that you're sort of replacing his uncle status.
She did.
Or are you tacking him on... are you tacking on the new uncle as an
okay.
additional uncle?
Tristan
Curmudgeon-y
is
uncle.
Tristan's curmudgeon uncle. Rick is inspirational uncle. That's that cool, like I'm your bud kind of uncle. The guy who
So let's talk about Rick.
This is getting a little hurtful.
Let's talk about Rick.
like you're the kind of guy that you could like play a video game with. Well, Rick, you could play a video game with too, but you would like
This is getting very
you-
hurtful.
You're like...
you'd be the,
You're
you'd
X,
be the
Y, and
guy-
Z, but Rick's
No,
better at
shut
it.
up. You'd be the guy that you would play like war with, like you know, like you get all dressed up, or like you'd play with like GI Joes and be like, "I'm going to war," you know. And then
You're a
Rick is the kind of guy that'll put your hand in hot water and make you pee yourself in the bed.
Kinky.
All right, that was an odd transition. Odd analysis.
I'm pretty sure Rick is not
comparison.
gonna. Rick's gonna be like, "Really, Haley?" And we're like,
You know what? Because Rick listens to our podcast, I'm leaving this in.
I hope you do.
I'm
Hi,
leaving it
Rick.
in. And speaking of, let's talk about Rick Guerrero. Who is Rick Guerrero?
Rick, I love Rick.
Our good friend Rick. Who is Rick?
He's apparently the better version of me.
Apparently.
No, Tristan, no. Rick is my friend who I met through a fellow parrot head. If anybody doesn't
I'm
know
not
that.
going to ask.
A parrot head is a Jimmy Buffett fan.
I didn't ask.
Well, I said it anyway.
You like pina coladas?
That's not
Bean
Jimmy Buffett.
enchiladas.
Jimmy Buffett is wasting away.
Okay, so
again.
before we lose our audience here,
Anyway,
who is Rick Guerrero?
Rick is he works at Rooster Teeth, and he is the animation compositor for Ruby and RVB. And so, if you don't know what a compositor is, they're the person that puts all of the pieces together.
So
At the
so
end
it's
of-
basically the guy that takes all the animation of all the different characters and puts them with the background or something?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And he is going to be on our podcast September 16th.
So in 2 weeks.
Dun,
Yeah,
dun, dun.
like I got to hang out with him. I've known him now for
Several
early
months,
June.
yeah,
It's
because
June. And I hung out with him at RTX. And
So did I.
yeah,
you
and I
did
didn't
too,
even
but-
meet him, so cool.
Well, after you left, Alex, me and him like walked around and
Talked
talked-
about how much they hated you.
yeah,
Probably.
no, Alex, no. He was like, yeah, like, because I had asked him, I was like, so what was it like seeing the fruits of all of your labor and all of the, like, because he'd never been to RTX. And he's only been working for Rooster Teeth since, I think, the beginning
Was
of
it
this year.
January?
Yeah.
Something like that?
And I was like, so how was it seeing how many people your work affects? He goes, it was mind-blowing. He's like, it's such an eye-opener. And, like, he was like, I made a kid smile today. That was, like, amazing. So we're definitely going to talk to him, and we're going to definitely bring up his RTX experience because it was his first one. And
Yeah, looking forward to it. 2 weeks from now. It will not be live streamed, but it will be out in 2 weeks from probably
Yay!
today, which is the day that the podcast came out on YouTube and
Usually
SoundCloud.
somewhere between Friday and Saturday.
It just depends on how much time there is, because I'm soups busy right now.
we all are.
So,
That's why we
Soup.
don't get to hang out as much. Like, we don't get to, like, you know.
Yeah, because I'm teaching, and Alex is in college, and Hayley and Tristan are both working, and so we barely scrape together the time at the moment to record once a week. But I mean, we're all awesome, so
Wait, well, we can
What?
keep. Sorry, I was just.
that's hurtful.
No, that was an accident. Sorry, that
I
wasn't.
thought she actually just
that
farted
wasn't.
and crapped her pants.
No, but Taylor Swift did at the VMAs.
Okay, tell us about that. I want to hear about this. This sounds awesome.
Okay, I do not watch the VMAs, but I was on Tumblr and I saw it. But she literally farted on camera while she was like talking about, I think, Bad Blood, like her music, her song, and everybody's like, "Did she just fart?"
What did she
So-
back up her butt to the microphone?
No, you could just hear it, like it just went.
There's
And
no
I was
way,
I
like,
would've.
because girls don't fart.
of course we don't.
Except that
We
now
also
it's
don't
on
laugh at
national
such things.
And
television.
if they fart, butterflies come out.
Basically.
So,
Oh, by the way,
Mhm.
Dragon Con this weekend in Atlanta. What's
yeah,
up?
Gilby's going to that in his not Master Chief, his Shepherd cosplay, and he put
Yeah.
together the entire outfit and the gun and everything.
My friend's actually going to be at the Mass Effect meetup, I think, because she does. I have not played Mass Effect yet. It's on my list of things to do. Don't
You
worry.
and
It's on my list.
Tristan.
No, it's on my list. It's just literally like if I don't have time to sit down and play a video game right as I buy it, I'm pretty sure it'll take me months to get to it. So
You should
I want to
live
make sure
stream
I
it. I will watch if you
Wait.
live stream it.
I will.
high
Well,
five,
I
though.
don't think I'll be able to live stream it because is Mass Effect on the PlayStation 4? Because that's the only console I can stream from. Because I don't have an Elgato or nothing.
I honestly don't
On
know.
the PlayStation 4.
All right,
I
there
think
you
it
go.
is.
It's installing on my computer
Not on
now.
PlayStation 4, on the PS3.
Yay, Tristan!
I
Yes.
will be buying the HD version or the HD remakes of Uncharted. Y'all better be watching those streams because I'm gonna stream the crap out of it. I'm so pumped. And then Uncharted 4. Oh, Nathan Drake. I love him.
So I am in my second week of teaching.
How's that going?
Congratulations.
Is it weird?
Every time a faculty member that has known me for well over a decade says, "Well, how's the teaching going?" I say, I think it's going well. And they say, every time they say, the students tell me it's going well. They like
good.
that you're teaching things in a way that it's all coming together for them, even the advanced students. They're like, "Oh, I never thought about it that way." And they say that you're teaching at a nice pace. And I'm like, "Well, I guess it's going well then." And that's a pretty good compliment that it's buzzing around.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Proud of you.
Professor Joseph Dunlap.
You
Do
say,
you have a doctorate in music? Like, do they have to call you doctor?
if I get a doctorate, then yes.
Or you could be
There's the potential
overqualified.
You'll be overqualified.
If yeah, I would
Dude,
be
that is
overqualified.
not a joke. There are colleges that cut professors because they're too expensive, and they will replace them with people with smaller degrees.
But, yeah, teaching's going good. I moved into my office, and Tristan thinks something's funny.
Nothing.
Nothing's funny.
Nothing at
What's
all.
funny?
Your face.
I just thought it's really cool to have a friend that's a professor at a university.
Anyway, any parting words from anybody? Anything that we failed to bring up? Halo 5 Guardian trailer? Alex, you watched it right before we recorded, correct?
I watched it.
Yay! So, your take on the trailer?
I thought that it looked beautiful. I thought that the animation was awesome, and I loved seeing Nathan Fillion's face as he's reprising his role as Buck in it. The story was interesting. You got to see the Spartans from Halo 4 who had tried to capture Dr. Halsey as she escaped. And you get to see you actually got some insight into the other side of the story, why Spartan Locke and the Master Chief are at odds, as Locke is leading the Osiris fire team, and they're tasked with retrieving Dr. Halsey and taking down Jul 'Mdama, who is leading the remnants of the Covenant forces, basically the elites and the other races of the Covenant that are still at odds with humans, even though the majority of the elites have left the Covenant.
Alex, what did you think of it?
Tristan kind of hit the nail on the head. I really liked the first part when they were getting ready and set up in the ship, and then obviously the drop. The second part, though, when they were sliding down the mountain, kind of was, I don't know, I think there was too much going on, and at the same time, I know we're supposed to suspend our belief with the whole, because it's Spartans, they can do a whole bunch of stuff, but I think they kind of were moving more and doing more than what I thought. I figure Spartans would do. Basically, after reading the books, the Spartans don't go all gung-ho and just go and sliding down a mountain killing things. They like to do things slow and calculated.
So what if that's part of the narrative?
Of course, yeah, I also have to consider that these aren't probably real Spartans. These are now later Spartans, now that they've essentially designed the armor and the enhancements to allow people that weren't put into the Spartan program to be able to use them.
Ghost of Onyx, the next series, the Spartan 3s, most of them that died early on in the novel, they were not the tactical infiltrate and hide and do things like that. They also were trained to be able to go onto the battlefield, and not only that, but take weapons from the Covenant and use them, much like Master Chief does all the time. And then they also have other teams that are little fire teams.
To that point you're making, the Spartan 3s weren't designed to be like the Spartan 2s. The Spartan 2s, who are the Spartans we know, Master Chief and his team from Fall of Reach, the Spartan 2s were designed to be anatomically, physically, the pinnacle of human achievement, physical strength and mental capacity. So they go in and strategically do everything, and they do it in small fire teams. There were only 200 something Spartan 2s that were successfully created by the original program. The Spartan 3 program was designed to create something that was sort of on the level of the Spartan 2s, but much, much cheaper. So they pushed out a couple thousand Spartan 3s, and they sent them in on what were considered suicide missions, and they would send 500 of them at a time, only expecting to get 10 back.
And that's part of my point, though, that our concept of what a Spartan is in Halo is based simply off the Spartan 2s, because we hardly know anything about the Spartan 1s, and we don't really think about the Spartan 3s and whatever comes after that.
Well, and which is why Halo Reach, while a fun game, was, if you follow the books, Halo Reach was a difficult one to kind of swallow, because it felt and seemed, and I think you were even told, that the Spartan 3s in that game were using the Mjolnir armor, which was not the case. If you recall the book, Ghost of Onyx, the Spartan 3s were equipped with the SPI Infiltrator armor, which was really lightly armored, very low energy cost to it. Mm-hmm. Not like the Mjolnir at all, no shielding or anything like that. So, from the get-go, you're like, these Spartan 3s that you're working with are already way more equipped than the Spartan 3s that we were introduced to. What I was looking at just now was Buck. I remembered him from Halo 3 ODST, is where I thought I first ran into him.
He played a character in ODST, but it was not Buck.
It was Buck, because I went and looked him up. Gunnery Sergeant Edward Buck is a staff non-commissioned officer in the UNSC Marine Corps. He is currently a Spartan 4 and formerly an ODST. So apparently, between the games, Halo 3 ODST, where he first appeared, and Halo 5, he went through the program and became a Spartan 4.
Which, obviously, with the Spartan 4s, they probably improved even more upon the Spartan 3 system.
Well, if you recall Halo 4, that's where the Spartan 4s were introduced. You play a Spartan 4 in the war games.
My mistake. He played a character in Halo 3 that was not Buck. It was Gunnery Sergeant Reynolds, as in Malcolm Reynolds. And then at ODST, he immediately switched over and played a separate character that now is his character.
Going back to the trailer, though,
yes, please.
I wanted to say that I guess the opening scene, since that's going to be the opening scene, the drop when they were flying in between the ships really made me think of Halo 2 after the
that's
first
totally
or
a
second
callback
mission
to Halo
when you're
2,
dropping.
where he
when
puts the bomb on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's totally a callback. I wanted to make a point, though, because once they drop out of the ship, one aspect of that callback that you're talking about, Alex, is that in Halo 2, all they really had the capability to do in their animation was have him drop, land on the ship, like put the bomb on the ship, and then land on the Pelican, and then go back down to Earth. Whereas now they're able to have them like swoop around, kind of Red versus Blue style, and no coincidence they say Red versus Blue, because the whole rest of that, when they're swooping through the air, when they're on the mountain fighting the Covenant, is so reminiscent of Monty Olam's style Red vs. Blue that I am convinced that it only exists because of Red vs. Blue, that they must have watched the show, they must be fans of the show, and they must have thought, this is things we should be doing, and so that's my theory as to why they've done that.
Well, I'm sure they watch the show, because they still give Rooster Teeth the ability to use the Halo engine to make this stuff. So they want to make sure that what they're putting out is still great stuff, and so they've got to be fans of it. I mean, they come to RTX,
of course, yeah.
I think.
Do they? Oh, that's cool. But I guess...
This year, I don't think they did. Last year, they did show up. I mean, they sponsor stuff.
I think the main point I'm making here, though, is the feedback. The fact that without Halo, Red vs. Blue wouldn't exist, and there's been callbacks to Red vs. Blue since, Halo 2, but we now are at a point where Red vs. Blue is making Halo better, which is a nice little turning point, a nice little feedback occurring, where without Monty Olam's style animation, Halo 5 may never have stepped up their game.
Possible.
I mean, it had a very Monty Ohm feel when I was watching that second segment of the video where they're sliding on the mountain and fighting.
For a while, I felt like I was watching like Carolina and Tex and Wash and all these guys. With the whole thing, I felt like I was watching Red vs. Blue for a while.
Yeah, I was at first. I will say I was at first really interested in watching the second half, and that interest waned slightly because I thought what we were going to be seeing was the different ways in which each of the members of the squad engages the enemy. And the first couple of cutaways, you do kind of see a different fighting style with the different Spartans. And after like the third or fourth cut, it's like the same maneuvers for all of them. They're all fighting basically. It's like watching the same guy fight his way down the mountain, only from different camera angles. Even though it's supposed to be 4 different guys, I was like, they could have done something more interesting with that.
I can see that point. Although I mean, there's not much variance in how you use an assault rifle. But I can see your point there that if they want to communicate narrative-wise that they all have different styles, that it needs to be shown a little bit more on the screen rather than saying, well, I mean, they've got guns, so now they're shooting. But it's a good point. But I think it's time for us to wrap up. And I've enjoyed this conversation, and everyone tune in next week and the week after, because the week after we're going to have Rick Guerrero on, and that's going to get hyped between now and then. And it's going to be exciting. We're going to talk Red versus Blue. We're going to talk Ruby.
I won't be here next week only because it's my mommy's birthday, so I'm going to spend time with her.
We'll tell her happy birthday for us, and we're going to have a Tristan cast.
Tristan cast.
That's when you're not there, it's Tristan cast, because he takes over.
Wow, Tristan.
This is news to me, too.
Yeah, he kind of has a big head.
Tristan, it's not news to you, because the first Tristan cast, you made your face cover the whole screen.
You asked me to do that.
Yes, but...
I actually asked you to
Then I
do
deserve
that,
a
and I was
cast
so
just for
happy when you
myself.
did.
Well, when Tristan's not there, it's Tristanless. Anyway, I guess it's time that we wrap this up and say goodnight. So,
All
Good
right.
night.
Good
Sleep
night.
well. Don't let the bugs bite.
bugs a bit.
So long and farewell.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Oh my god, my legs hurt so bad. Okay, this is gonna sound really weird.
Then I'll keep it in the podcast.
I worked inner and outer thighs yesterday, so it's hard to
Work
keep
those thighs.
Shut up. It's hard. This is where it
Alex
gets
is
weird.
trying to work the inner thigh right now.
This is where it gets weird. I can't. It's hard to keep my legs together.
Oh man.
Oh,